Today we're going through 17 pages of Public Safety Ministry documentation tabled recently to the House of Commons Health Committee. Now, in these documents, we'll find out the number of people in Canada from Wuhan, China, who arrived in January 2020. We'll also find out the number of people who arrived in Canada after first visiting Hubei province within a 14-day span in late January and early February 2020. On March 15th, 2020, a stack of 17 documents were tabled before the House of Commons Health Committee by Public Safety Canada. The documents give us details about the number of travelers to Canada from the virus epicenter of Wuhan in Hubei province, China, within a 2-week span in late January and early February 2020. Are you horrified yet? I am too, a little bit. Let's get right into this. But first, let's start off with a little bit of levity. On page 3 of these documents, bureaucrats from the Canadian Border Services Agency accidentally call Hubei province Flubei province, which is so fantastic and perfect. Look at this. CBSA recommends immediate implementation of the contact tracing form for travelers from Flubei province. However, if China virus is racist and Wuhan virus is racist, then certainly calling Hubei Flubei might be considered racist also. Frankly, though, I'm convinced this is little more than a typo because it is just far too clever for some Liberal government deputy minister bureaucrat of something or other to have dreamed it up. But going forth, I'm probably going to start calling it Flubei province. Okay, on page 6, we can see that as of February 11th, 1,267 travelers had answered that they had been to Flubei in the last 14 days, and nearly 1/4 of those 1,267 travelers were foreign nationals, neither permanent residents nor Canadian citizens. And of that 1/4, 40% of them were citizens of China. On page 13, we can see that even as the world was waking up to the fact that China had lied, that the virus didn't spread person to person, the Canadian government was still approving temporary resident visas for people from Wuhan, China for things like travel, visiting, business, and study. Now look at this here. As of February 2nd, 2020, there are 1.91 million Chinese residents who currently hold valid temporary resident visas. Only 2%, or 39.4 thousand, are residents of Wuhan. And just for context, a temporary resident visa can last anywhere from 1 day to 3 years before you've got to pack up and go home. And according to these documents, almost all of the valid visas for these temporary residents, 99.7% of them, were multiple entry visas, meaning these people could go home. They could go back and forth on the same visa. Now, nearly 40,000 people from the virus epicenter were in Canada as of February 2020. And there are no real details about when they arrived or what condition they were in when they got here. How many came in December 2019 as the virus mushroomed in Wuhan? Well, I can't tell you that specific number, but I can tell you that in all of 2019, there were 13,000 temporary resident applications approved for residents of Wuhan, China. Also on page 13, now here's the exact quote. Between January 1st and February 2nd, 2020, my department approved 18.2 thousand temporary resident applications for residents of China. 3%, or 620 of them, were from residents of Wuhan. 620 residents of Wuhan were granted new temporary residency to Canada in just January. So the virus was overtaking Wuhan. Wuhan was in full lockdown. The Chinese government was telling the world they're building instant hospitals to deal with the coronavirus, and yet Canadian officials were rubber stamping visitors from Wuhan into China. 286 of these people said they were just here for tourism. Another nearly 20%, 180 people, indicated that they were here just for a, quote, visit. Seems legit. Also, between January 1st and February 2nd, 2020, my department approved 1.5 thousand permanent resident visas from China. 2%, or 36 of them, were from residents of Wuhan. Now, my colleague, David Menzies, has repeatedly pointed out that there's little to no screening for health conditions happening at Toronto's Pearson Airport. Even after Canada forced its own citizens home, to stop the spread of the virus. If only Canada's immigration and border controls were as aggressive with travelers from China as local police are with dads out rollerblading on an empty street with their kids. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel and ring the little bell so you never miss a story. And if you are forcibly quarantined with someone, friends or family, girlfriend, whatever, maybe take their phone and make sure that they're subscribed to us too. It's just the right thing for you to do. Also, if you know someone who has been fined, or if you are someone who has been fined by local authorities because you were out social distancing, but also out of your house, let us know. We'll help you fight back. Go to fightthefines.com to get all the details.